What's up, humans, and welcome to episode 53 of the Human Music Podcast, illGates Looks to the Future. Welcome to part 2 of our interview with the one and only illGates. If you haven't heard last week's episode, we highly recommend checking that one out first, where he goes over some of the craziest stories from his time coming up as a young DJ. In this episode, he drops some amazing gems and poses important questions like, what conversation are you creating as an artist? What can your music do for other people? And how bad do you really want a music career? He also talks about a few of his favorite music making tips and tricks and dives into the future of illgates music and his production school, Producer Dojo. Please support our sponsors. All these links are in the show description. First off, Dojo TV, where you can get free producer live stream classes from the Producer Dojo Senseis, and this episode was recorded live there. The weekly download, where you can learn directly from illgates in his private weekly group lessons and get access to over 220 more episodes in the archive for only $20 a month. Next, guest practices, where you can learn high-level mixing and mastering from Seth Drake at the Approach Institute. He is high-key the best engineer we know, and your first class of guest practices is free. And Gangaroo Records music distribution, where you can get unlimited uploads for under $10 a year. Because once your music is sounding great, you got to get it out to the world. All right, y'all. Without further ado, let's get into the episode.
Hello, people of Earth. This is Tesco with Rip Kenny and Trap Jesus, and you're listening to the Human Music Podcast. Woo!
Human Music Podcast. I like it.
You know, moving to the US and working for Microsoft so I could get a visa, and playing for Bill Gates, and, you know, all the Burning Mans that I did. And like, I still don't think anyone's topped my record of 19 sets in 5 days at Burning Man. I haven't heard of anyone coming close to that.
That's too epic,
different, man. They were all different. Yeah, my ass hurt, man. But people remembered me after that. You know, because it's like, I think your job as an artist is to create a conversation, you know, just like Seth Godin says in his Purple Cow book. And so, you know, you got to think about like, what kind of conversation are you creating? And I think a lot of artists, they lose sight of that, and they you know, start creating bad stories. You know, they think that it's all about, you know, whatever the last record that you put out is. But if you go around creating a negative conversation, eventually that shit will catch up to you, you know? And it's like, you got to be on story control. So not only do you have to, like, you know, come up with epic shit that's going to be an interesting story that people can remember and tell, and do epic shit that people are going to remember and talk about, but you also need to make sure that you're on story control. And you know, if you're a mean drunk, don't black out at gigs, you know, that kind of thing. As I know a lot of people who either by misbehaving with women or misbehaving with drugs have just let the bad stories get out of control, you know? But yeah, it's just, it's really like your job is to make stories, make something to talk about, make something interesting. And, you know, when I actively started rejecting the rules and actively started pushing back on all the creative constraints, and I became ready to accept a lifetime of poverty, if that's what it took, that's when everything shifted. And, you know, and I mean, even now I consider myself very lucky to be able to be a professional musician throughout COVID. You know, I've been doing, in addition to Dojo, like lots of remix work and stuff, but I've been, you know, I haven't even had to do that many teaching hours. Like it's been pretty good, you know? And it's just like, you know, I never would have dreamed that this was possible, or that I'd fucking own a modular like that, or fucking, you know, have my own house, you know, like it's just like all that shit's like, you know, it just seems so far away, you know, but if you can, like, time is the most valuable thing that we have. And if your music can improve someone else's time, then you are providing a service that they will gladly pay for. And if you can give them a good time or the best time they've ever had, they will pay you any amount of money, you know? And I think a lot of people lose sight of that, you know, because they're just trying to think like, what's this music going to do for me? You know, what's this going to get me? What's this track going to get me? And if you think like, if you think about what your music can do for you, you're not thinking about what your music can do for other people, you know. And it comes back to like the beginning, like if you want to get in with a management company, start by what you can do for them. If you can make their day better, if you can make their workload lighter, they'll be like, fucking thanks. I get some of my own time back. What a gift. And then they'll be nice to you, you know, and help you with your career. And it's the same thing with music, you know, like when we did that style masterclass over the weekend, there were a lot of people who were talking about their style, and they were just like talking about the facts of their style and not like the feeling, you know? And it's like, what emotions are the foundation of your style? How do you make people feel? Like, what do you make people feel? Why is it more intense than the way other people make them feel? Like how are you lighting up that person's time? How are you making that time in some way extremely valuable? You know, because you can make a sad ass song and it's like heartbreaking and beautiful, and people will still like value it as you know, an outlet for their emotions. You know, it doesn't have to be like just party music improves people's time. Like sometimes listening to the saddest fucking loneliest song in the world and having a good cry is like the best way you can spend your time, you know? So it doesn't matter what emotion you're trying to get people to feel or whatever. It just matters how you can make them feel. Can you make them feel more than one different way? Can you take them on an emotional journey? And if you can create an escapist theme park of different musical attractions, that's really when you're stoked. You know, that's when you're set. Like, you know, because people's lives are fucking hard, man, especially now. You know, people's lives are hard, and that means that there is a much more acute need for music than there was before. And the economic realities of ticket sales collapsing mean that there are way less highly skilled musicians in the way now, because a lot of those people are fucking packing groceries now, you know? So it's really a good time for independent musicians. You know, it's a really good time. Like, there's going to be a big changing of the guard after COVID and things come back. Like, we're going to see a lot of people never come back, you know, and there's going to be a lot of new people. And, you know, if you want to be one of those new people, you got to start thinking like, what makes my music addictive? You know, what makes it irreplaceable? What makes it, you know, what's my lane that I am the go-to person for? As if you're not the go-to person in your genre, or you're not trying to be the go-to person in your genre, what's the fucking point? You know, what's the point? Like, I mean, it's cool if it's just like a recreational activity and you're just doing it as a creative outlet and it's fun and everything. But if you're having a go at being a professional musician, you need to aim for the fucking rafters, you know? Like, it's like, I mean, like, it's important to be realistic in that you need to be realistic about like how much you're gonna be able to do yourself. But being realistic with your time management and being realistic with your goals are two entirely fucking different things. And if you want to have the drive to make it through all the fucking slog and all the nights that didn't go so hot and all the time some fucking drunk girl pours a drink on you because you didn't play Backstreet Boys or whatever, you know, you need to have a really clear vision. You need to have a defined vision that you're passionate about, something that was like, you know, like if someone's like, you can have your dream vision, or you can keep your left hand. You know, it should be like, cut my hand off. Like that should be, you know, you need to want it that bad. Where if you were given that choice, you'd be like, it's just a hand, you know?
I can barely play keys with that one anyways. Come on.
Yeah, fuck it. You know, whatever. So, you know, it's got to be something that you want that bad, because there's going to be times when it fucking sucks. There's going to be times when you travel across the country for a gig that goes bust. There's going to be times like, I mean, I remember I was at one festival in Australia. It was like my second Australian tour. It was like me and Eprom and Mimosa and Dov. And the gig we had was an afternoon gig because they were still into the unsuns back then. They didn't put bass music or anything on the main stages. So it was like side stage afternoon shit. So we had another gig the night before. So we stayed up all night, went from the club to the airport and flew. And they got us all from the airport and they're taking us to the gig and it's raining fucking hard. And they're like, yeah, we're going into this party. It's really insanely wet, but the stages are prepared for water. But full disclosure, you might not be able to drive back out. We're like, what? And they're like, yeah, if it gets any wetter, they're closing the roads. It's got to be like tractor tread vehicles only. And they're like, but we'll call you one. It just might take a bit to get you out. We're like, okay. And they're like, yeah, so go play your set. So we go play the set. It's like function one, and there is waist deep water on the dance floor, like waist deep water. And people are like painting their faces with the mud, like fucking Braveheart and shit. It was insane. So we all play our sets, and it's like in Australia, like everywhere except for North America, psytrance is fucking huge. Like people love that shit. You know, and I mean, I think it's a great song, you know, it's good. But yeah, so they're all like, they've all been on acid for days and they're just like covered in mud, like running in the fucking, so we all play our sets, and miraculously no one's computer gets destroyed or anything. And we like because we had to even get to the stage, we had to like double garbage bag duct tape our feet, which if you're ever at a music festival and you don't have boots, if you put garbage bags and just duct tape around the boots, you can make boots. So you don't destroy your nice sneakers. I've had to do this lots of times. Now I have rubber sneaker covers, which is an extremely good investment if you're a touring DJ. It'll cost you about $15. And then you have these like tiny folding rubber things and you just stretch them and put them over your shoe and it turns your shoe into a sealed waterproof boot. It has saved my shoes. I mean, if you see pictures of me, you know I like shoes, you know, so I'm not about to destroy some fucking, you know, Jeremy Scott fucking Adidas in a fucking muddy festival, right? Anyway, so we've got the, you know, we're bagging up our legs to get it because we had to get around, but there's no one coming and it's getting fucking cold because it's been raining hard for a long time. And then suddenly there's like helicopters and we're like, what the fuck? And we ask the promoters and they're like, oh yeah, the roads have been closed for a while and there was an overdose and there's no other way to get them in. So they're medevacing people. That's what the helicopter's for. And they're like, yeah, if it goes any wetter, the sound systems are off. Like it's fucked. And yeah, the only way to get it out is by helicopter right now or tank tread vehicle. And the tank tread vehicles are all dealing with like medical emergencies. So it might be 3 hours. We don't know. And we're just like, okay, let's do it fucking platoon style, like garbage bag your whole leg, gear bag on the head, and just walk through the fucking swamp. And we had to walk for like, it was probably like a mile and a half through like nipple deep water. And it's fucking soaking wet. And it's a field in Australia, which we all know there's like fucking cane toads and like brown snakes and all kinds of fucking poisonous shit. And we just had to fucking suck it up and put our gear bags on our head and just like portage that shit. And I remember like, Tigran, like Mimosa, this was like when he was at the height of his fame, right? So he's like, you know, getting like 25 grand a gig and shit, like just killing it. And he's, you know, normally touring the US, he'd have a tour manager and like a fucking joint roller and shit. Like he had like just totally unnecessary people on staff. Like who needs a fucking joint roller? Like really, you know? So he was balling out. And I think he had like some fucking wash. So it was like a couple, like tens of thousands of dollars or whatever. And he was just like, no, like just so mad. And me and fucking Ephraim were like, dude, you can stay here all day with these fucking like soaking wet acid fucking Braveheart, or we can just go to the fucking hotel and get out of here. Like, the only way to do it is this. So duct tape your fucking garbage bags on your legs and let's go. And he was just like, ugh. And then eventually he just realized that it was the only fucking way was for him to just walk a mile in nickel deep fucking water with his gear bag over his head. We just garbage bagged all our gear, garbage bagged our legs, and just fucking just did it. And then like, and that was like a sick tour. That was fun. That was great. Like and I worked hard to get on a tour like that. You know,
you got
like
a good podcast story out of it at least.
Yeah, and the gig was great. You know, we all got paid, but it's like, you know, you still, even at like higher levels of the music industry, you still have to deal with shit like that. Especially the parties that you would actually want to go to, like Burning Man and shit. Like you gotta. There's shit that sucks about that. Like there's totally parts of it that are really uncomfortable and shitty. You know, and you need to have a vision that you're like, this is just a fucking piece of the fucking puzzle, man. Like this is just another one for the books. Like just keep going forwards. And, you know, and also like having that kind of clarity of vision, it helps it to be like less of a bummer when all that shit happens, you know, because like bad shit's gonna happen. Shit's gonna go wrong. You're gonna play bad gigs. You're probably gonna get in fights with people. You're gonna get people on your team that seem like they're the perfect person to be on your team when you're fucking at some after party, and then you get them on your team and they like fuck up some record release or something for you, or, you know, piss off your favorite promoter or whatever. And you're just gonna have to go through that. Like that's just how it is. You know, nobody really gets to skip that. And even when you're at the highest levels, people are still a bunch of fucking juvenile idiots. Like the music industry is full of crazy people and drug addicts and drug dealers. Like half the music industry is fucking money laundering. Let's be real. Like
and there are also bad parts.
Yeah, and there are bad parts too. But it's just like you're going to have to negotiate this fucking sea of crazy people for years. And you need to like it. Like it's got to be fun. If you're not having fun, you're going to stop, you know? So you need to have like a very clearly defined vision, you know? And that's really, I mean, you know, and I'm even just now like, you know, the kind of school for the urban arts thing is just finally, like I finally built it in LA. I had it for a bit before fucking COVID came and ruined the party, but it was going, and I'm going to build another one in Vancouver as soon as you're allowed to have people in a commercial space that is like non-essential or whatever. I'm going to get a warehouse and I'm going to build the fucking chocolate factory again. And it's going to be awesome again because I did it once, you know, so it can definitely
second time's the easy part, right?
Yeah, totally. I think the second time I'm going to not live there. That was, I think, the big thing was just being in, especially once coronavirus hit, we were just like inside in a warehouse all the time, you know? And it's just like, I was getting no sun in LA, like, cause our neighborhood was scary. Like,
I spent plenty of time there. Yeah, man. Yeah.
You don't go on a walk, especially not at night. You know, that's fucking scary. There's like pyromaniac. There's this pyromaniac crackhead like setting pools of lighter fluid outside our fucking unit with like flames licking up the side of our unit. And like, I remember one time we were pushing this stroller and the dude was just like covered in soot from setting fires around the neighborhood. And he was huddled under his fucking shopping cart. He looks at me, looks at Asha, and like his face is all black from soot. All you can see is like all the way around his fucking iris, like super wide eye. Looks at me, looks at Asha, and then fucking starts smoking crack out of a crack pipe, like staring at my baby daughter in the fucking stroller. I was like, okay, this was cool when we were like artist types, but we are parents now. Fucking this, we got to get this baby the fuck out of here, you know? So I think I still want to have like a, you know, warehouse and not like some fucking office. So I'll probably get a warehouse again and do it again. But I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. It was so sick. And I figure if people are willing to fly to LA to make records and train and stuff, they'll fly to Vancouver, you know?
Yeah, man. LA's cool and all, but, you know, slightly less of all that going on. You know, it's even better. It's a bonus.
Yeah.
I mean, to get back to Van anyways. It's a good town.
Oh, it's so nice, dude. Our neighborhood's the best. I love living here. It's just awesome. It's so nice.
Speaking of the dojo, I mean, it sounds like there's been a pretty consistent theme of this whole episode filled with so many good stories. Is that the love of the art and the craft comes first, then you need tenacity and determination and just pure grit to get through all of the ups and the downs and the fun parts and the scary parts and the franks.
And you got to say yes to everything. That's one thing that people don't do enough of at the beginning. They're all trying to be all calculated. If you get any fucking opportunity, even a shitty opportunity, fucking take it until you're established and you have fans that are willing to buy tickets or fly to see you. Fucking just take it. Just say yes. You know?
Yeah. And the culmination for all of this has really proven itself to be the dojo, right?
I mean, I'm pretty excited. And I mean, there's like a bunch of new exciting stuff going on with the dojo. You know, like we moved our distribution over to Alpha Pup recently. Alpha Pup is independent, non-major label distributor run by Granny winner Daddy Kev. You know, he's helped to break such artists as Flying Lotus, The Gas Lamp Killer, The Glitch Mob, EEPROM, Saruda, Toki Monster. It's a good home. So, we've kept Dov from Muti Music, he is coming on this journey with us. So we're no longer using the Cyberset distribution that we were using for Muti, because, Alpha Pup he wanted us to give him a shot and he was real insistent, and I'm excited about that. So that's a big move. I also just signed on with AB Touring, which is a very cool new booking agency started by some of the guys from Wakan. They have lots of other great artists on there, like Antennae and Taboo and SFAM and Dim Saints and Stylist and Balkan Bump, and there's a few heavy bass guys too. But they have like a really good range between like heavy bass and like festival chill Sunday music and live music and stuff. So they can do kind of the whole spectrum. So I'm really excited to be over there. We're announcing that next week. And then I also
exclusives out here.
Yeah, it's an exclusive announcement.
That's a scoop.
And then I've had some new records. Echo Zoo is a dojo member who, even though he's not releasing on the dojo label, is still repping hard. He used to do front of house for like Chainsmokers and the Glitch Mob and Bass Voldemort and a bunch of other pretty established artists. And he's makes some really great music, and he's you know, like he was working with these two girls, Astrologic, who are like singer-songwriters. They all lived together and made some really cool music. So we did a track called By a Thread, which came out in January on Subsidia, and that did pretty well. And then followed that up with another release where I remixed an Echo Zoo and Craddy collab with Kill Will. It's called Like a Feather, and I made a jump up drum and bass, new school jump up drum and bass remix of that.
I really dig that remix, man. I liked the original. I like a lot of the other remixes, man, but yours, that big synth line that comes at the front of the drop, like plays in my head just out of nowhere sometimes, and I'm like, oh. I haven't even listened to that song today.
Dude, Asha loves it too. She rages hard to it. That's actually my big test now. Is like if I can make a 2-year-old like it who doesn't know anything about anything, then it's good. But yeah, and then I recently just released a remix of the very talented Balkan Bump. And did a remix of his track Nomad Slang from his Osmanity album. And then I just curated a playlist on Planet Bump, which is his Spotify playlist. But yeah, he's really sick. He's like worked with like Talib Kweli and Grammatic and Pretty Lights, and he was like in both the Pretty Lights and Grammatic live bands. And then he's also he got like a song in the Super Bowl and shit. Like he's crushing it. And he's really talented. He does kind of like Balkan music with trap beats. It's pretty cool. So I did a remix for him, and I got an interview with him launching pretty soon, and then a music video for my remix. It's also launching pretty soon. And then another dojo member who has just taken the world by storm is Ionize. And Ionize has, you probably have seen the video that I did with him for my remix of Polar Bear with Gucci Mane. It's amazing to get a chance to like legit work with Gucci Mane, even though we weren't in the studio together. I just got to produce the acapella, but yeah, Gucci Mane is, it was a real honor working with him. So that video like got up to like 3 million plus plays on YouTube. I'm pretty stoked about that. Yeah, that's Ryan's work though. He's a genius at internet promotion. So he managed to really rack them up, which is pretty cool. And his new video is like way past 3 million plays now. The video for Look What I Got. So Look What I Got is a track featuring Billboard Top 100 rapper 42 Doug. As well as Raekwon's brother, Des Eagle, and this dude, Kayvon Jacobs, who I love his verse in that song. It is so fucking dope. But yes, we did an internal dojo remix contest, and we got remixes from Rip Kenny and myself, and the Ionize original and Ahi. Were the ones who made the final cut. But very honorable mention goes to Crypto Chronica and Revs, who were in it right till the last minute when the label decided that we were crazy to put so many remixes on it, and we had a lot. But they were in it right till the very end, and their remixes are great, and Ionize love them and approve them and stuff. But it just didn't end up working out in the final EP. But both those remixes are fantastic, and they should be hot on the heels of the drop. I don't know that we have a final date yet. I think we're waiting on some video edits and stuff. But yeah, that EP is going to have EPROM, Rip Kenny, Ahi, and illgates on it. So it's going to be quite the remix EP. So yeah, watch out for that. That's coming soon. And then I've been writing a lot of new music and stuff too. Experimenting with a lot of alternate tuning and timing arrangements. And then I figured out how to use the expression control Max device in Ableton is fucking epic. And
wasn't Moonsplatter talking to us about that the other week?
Yeah, he just was. He was
talking about envelope follower.
No, and expression control.
Yeah.
Are we getting a sneak peek right now?
Yeah, so I was just decided I would chop up a drum break here. So I got a couple drum breaks, and then I put way too much compression on them because I want them to be really compressed. And I have this this drum rack here where. Right. And then what's going on here is this expression control has a randomizer, and I've mapped this randomizer with 21% randomness to control the chain selector on this rack. On this rack, I have 2 dry chains, and then at the end I have a silent chain, but in between those chains are lots of other chains. There's amp, there's another amp, there's saturator and redux again, frequency shifter and saturator, echo with some LFO, chorus going into an auto pan, going into a pedal, grain delay pitching it up, grain delay pitching it down, beat repeat making a grind, LFO on a grain delay, and then silence. And this now gets randomized every time a drum hits. So you can just record a whole bunch of that. So I recorded a bunch of that.
Machine.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this technique. So I recorded a bunch of that, and then I've been experimenting with working with beats that count in divisions of 5 instead of 16th notes. So I got this drum loop where there's a sampled drum loop, but I just made the 16th notes count as quintuplets, so that left a gap in between each quarter note chop. So I got this. right? And then I went into here and I chopped up this guy. So this is, here, I'll take the gate off. So these are for my chopped up break. And then I stretch that so that when you go in and look at it up close, you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 per beat. So you're getting quintuplets. Oh no, wait, this isn't the quintuplet one. This is the quintuplet one. Yeah, so you can see these are all time stretched to make quintuplets. So the rhythms all sound kind of off. And then I added a gate coming from the other beat. And then you can get like, see it. Get these like little changing textures because I'm trying to make a record with vocalists, so I'm trying to figure out ways to do things that are very different sounding, that are not gonna operate in the pain zone. So I've been kind of like making a bunch of these different fucking, it's just pretty fun. Did some like glitchy hardware percussion sounds. Like some of these are pretty good. Been doing a lot of sound design, just recording sounds. But yeah, so like lots of like really kind of crunchy analog stuff, and really just trying to work with texture, timing, and tuning, you know, and having those three things be kind of like, as if those three things are such fundamental conventions in music, you know, like the texture of cymatics, samples, and serum is just, it needs to be questioned. Like, there's so many people that are like, oh, I'm going to try and do something really fucking different by using the exact same tools as everyone else in the exact same way. And it's just like, it's not how it works. Not how it works. So I've been really trying to get like more, more analog recording sounds, sounds that come from a microphone and stuff. Nobody uses their mics anymore. They're all just like, why would I record a sound when there's a sound pack that it said it was the ultimate sound pack on Instagram and I have it in a folder. Why would I use a mic? You know?
This sound pack is insane.
It's crazy. There's sounds in it. It's a pack. What's not to like?
It's so funny. One of the questions that we didn't actually, I didn't get to any of my questions.
We had a long list of questions.
Maybe like the one
more for this. We prepared more for this episode than we've ever prepared, and needed it as little as we've ever needed it.
This is the best. Honestly, the best stuff happens when you just get on a tangent and just go deep down it. And
I was going to talk about.
You delivered so
Frank's Lemons. Good God.
Yeah.
But one of the things I was going to ask you was like, what nowadays still excites you from a gear or tools perspective? So I'm glad you touched on that.
Alternate tuning system that Aphex Twin is working on that allows you to, because right now when I want to do alternate tunings, I got to open the Scala app and I got to do a bunch of like weird shit in this Windows 98 looking app and spit out a bunch of code that I then manually cut and paste the text of into the Contact script editor and then save an altered version of my instrument to have that tuning. But I have to get a different kind of Scala file to load into my Novation Peak to get that to change the tuning. And then I have a third kind of Scala file, which I have to convert to a SysX and then put my Circlon into a special SysX mode and then load it over SysX into the fucking Circlon. So it could take like an hour to tune the whole studio. So there's this new app that it's like a format piece of software that if other plugin companies adopt it, they make it so you can have one master tuning and go, boop, let's put the whole song in a different key, boop, and then all the plugins change at once. That's pretty fucking exciting because that will save me a lot of time. I've also been making my own hardware-based sampler instruments using a program called Sample Robot that automates creating multi-samples. So it'll like sample each of the notes on your keyboard and then put it together into a sampler instrument. Fun fact, you can also do this for free with the MPC Beats software. You can use that to sample a VST plugin, for example, if you want to have your same sounds in your Ableton library and be free of depending on their dongle or whatever when you go over to your friend's house. Or if you have synthesizer sounds that use too much of your processor, but you still want them in MIDI, you can do that. Or if you want to rip your hardware synths into software sampler format, you can do that with the MPC Beats software, which is free. But I've been getting into Sample Robot because it's a little bit more detailed and the features are a little bit more robust. So I've been making a bunch of really cool multi-samples, and I've been tuning them around and stuff. And I got really dorked out on different oscillator and filter types until I learned what CEM oscillators are. And CEM is a specific chip that is found in a lot of the old Roland gear, like the SH-101 and the 303 and whatnot. And it's got this texture to the oscillators that is like just something else, So, and then another famous synth that uses the CEM oscillators is the Oberheims. So, I was looking, and just this week I scored myself an Oberheim Matrix 6 rack, which is now on the way to replace my Moog one that I had to sell because I just don't have the space for it here. And holy shit, they're expensive and I needed the money to move. So sold the Moog one to move, but I've had an analog polysynth shaped hole in my studio ever since, and just scored an Oberheim. But if you are looking for hardware multi-samples, here's an amazing tip. There is a format called sound fonts that Apple and GarageBand use that is considered a pretty old school format and was from the early days before VSTs were really a big deal. And people would sample their hardware synths and put them into sound font format because they didn't have VST synths. And if you wanted the sounds of a synth, that was how you did it. You sampled it, right? So there's a lot of these sound fonts that are kind of like old school that are floating around the internet for free. And it's very easy to find big libraries of meticulously multi-sampled hardware synths if you look up free sound fonts. And then you can also play them with Contact 5 or below. The Ableton sampler from Live 8 or below can load them. I have a version of Live 8 where I'll load the sound font, save it in Ableton format, and then load it in Live 11. But if you downgrade to Live 8, you can load sound fonts. And then also there are freeware sound font players. The one that I use is called Sforzando, Sforzando, which is, I believe, a musical term for how hard or soft you play. It's one of those pretentious Italian terms that is there to keep the piano teachers in work. But yes, Sforzando is a freeware sound font player. And if you just get that for free and you just look up like any famous synthesizer, you could look up like Oberheim sound font and you could get CEM oscillators to use in your own music. But Oberheim synths are famously used by like Boards of Canada, Aphex Twin, Jump by Van Halen is an Oberheim. There's all these like really iconic synth riffs. And when you hear one and like go look up the demos, you're like, oh, it's that's where those sounds come from. It's like it's very like it just sounds like a record. It's one of those synths that just sounds like a record. So I'm pretty excited to get that, and then I'm going to make hardware multi-samples of that for all the dojo people. So that was how I rationalized buying this expensive thing during COVID. I was like, no, it'll make me money. I'm going to make the sample packs. It'll make me money. So yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, so I'm really excited about my new Oberheim. Comes in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
And then I've been going really deep on the Circlon, as you can tell from my Circlon t-shirt. Just about to replace the screen though. My screen is fucking black from how old it is. But yeah, that thing is quite the beast. You have
what is it?
it is a hardware sequencer, and it has 32 outputs that come out here that control all my drums. So I have velocity and gate for 16 drums. So it's 32 outputs total. And then there's another 25 outputs of control voltage that control all my voices here. You can see they're all labeled like mod wheel from voice 1, velocity from voice 1, voice 1 gate, voice 1 note. So I've like organized these all labeled. So here's voice 1, here's voice 2. I can just like patch them up, and then the controller has all the instrument definitions and shit in there. And then it also has 5 MIDI ins and outs. So everybody gets its own MIDI in and out, and I can like play the knobs on my hardware synths, and it just records in the hardware sequencer. And then it can do all this really cool shit like inter-track note stealing events and like selective parameter randomization and like gate randomization. And you can have like a pattern where like, there's like an accumulator at the end. So every time the pattern plays, it like adds another 2 to a value or whatever, and create like slowly rising values. There's just all this really, really smart shit going on. And there's like global transpose at the scene level. So you can like transpose your whole song at once. There's global force to scale, really fucking useful. And, wow. And then it does micro tunings. I can just send a micro tuning file over with SysX. It's so much easier than Kontakt to do that shit. So I've been rocking that. And then, my second computer that is currently out in the new DJ live stream zone, the Furry Room 2.0 that I just finished building.
Nice.
To the furry room?
Yeah,
yes,
dude.
I miss that thing.
It's a newer, bigger, better furry room where I can do video sets, and I have like a video monitor, and like I can stream and record, see my own video, DSLR camera, and I can be so loud in there because it's like a shed. So great.
So the furry room 2.0 is a perfect segue. I mean, for this conversation, something that's been so varied, so historic and detailed, there's no good way to wrap it up. But furry room 2.0 brings me to this. What do you see for the future of both yourself, the dojo, and the music industry to kind of try and put a bow on such a great conversation?
Okay, cool. So, for myself, I have always historically had like just this total aversion to doing what I'm told and doing what I've done before. So I will often invent a completely new style each time I sit down to make a track. And, there are certain like kind of underlying, production conventions and melodic conventions and stuff that definitely make my music recognizably me, but I've never done like a full concept album. When you listen, with Terminally Ill was kind of a concept album, and I was exploring kind of the more poppy kind of side of my sound and working with vocalists a lot more, but that was really the only concept. Like all the tracks, there's like drum and bass tracks, there's like future bass tracks, there's dubstep, there's hip hop tracks, there's like, it's experimental down tempo and shit. And like Departures was just all my weirdest shit. And that's kind of a concept, but not really, So, I want to work on a record where I'm kind of being, I want to make like a fuck ton of different simple instrumentals, and then find different vocalists and basically work with different vocalists. But I want to, I have like very specific rules for this style that I'm doing for this record. It's going to be like all analog textures, and just like all the sounds need to either come from a microphone or a hardware synth, because the cumulative effect of that is just like, you get like a crazy sound, you really do. So, so I want to do all analog hardware / microphone textures. And then I want to be using unconventional timing arrangements and, whenever possible, unconventional tuning arrangements. And then really focus on, having less changes in the songs, like, and having the arrangements, because like a lot of my arrangements before, they're very like DJ arrangements where, you know, there's an intro you can mix and a build up and a drop and then a breakdown and a build up and another drop, and then there's, you know, it's like you can, if you DJ, you know what's going to happen in that shit, you know, like it'll be a different flavor of that, but it's DJ records, you know, whereas I think like, especially training with the modular synthesizers and stuff has really, you know, I've really learned the value of kind of treating music as creating like a place rather than a ride, you know? So I think a lot of the newer music is going to be focusing on just like really, really specific and different places rather than like a dance music kind of roller coaster. I want it to be a lot more like, you know, because I've just been, you know, not out at parties raging and stuff, and like, you know, the music that I listen to around the house has been really kind of different. I've been listening to a lot of like, you know, a lot of like Steve Reich and like Stockhausen and shit, like just like weird composers, and then also like hella IDM and lots of like, you know, lots of like synth music. There's this modular synth discovery playlist on Spotify that someone on the modular Reddit posted that is so fucking cool, and like some of the music is just so different than what you hear that comes out of a DAW and like comes out of like kind of dance music mentality and stuff, you know. And there are some artists that really combine that kind of like hardware aesthetic and combine that like specificity of style with dance music and do it really well. Like guys like Ivy Lab or like Camo and Crooked are really excellent examples of that. Like they're really they're using that other side of electronic music to kind of breathe fresh life into the like in the box dance music sound, you know. So so the sound I really have been focusing on a lot more, like, you know, rejecting a lot of the familiar, like on purpose, like really actively rejecting the familiar, and really
also a theme of this conversation.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, so I've been really actively rejecting the familiar and focusing on, you know, making like a place that is just like focusing a lot on the sonics rather than the articulations, you know, because a lot of my past music, there'll be like, you know, it's just all these changes, like thick and fast, like so many changes, you know, and that's cool if you're like ADDing out on a dance floor and stuff. But, you know, I want to make a record that's like a little bit more timeless, you know, as I feel like a lot of the time, and it's ironic that the music that we use to break free from the constraints of ordinary life is like some of the most rule following fucking music that you can ever ask for. It's one of the great ironies of dance.
What a paradox. Oh my God, dude. Yeah. It's so true though.
But yeah, so a lot more rule breaking, a lot more like kind of abstract shit. And I've been making beats, like just, you know, trying to make one or more a day. But for the Remix to Your Life second quarter, my goal is to get as soon as I can to get doing hardware timer beats, and then be doing timer beats where I get a set of stems at the end of each one. Because that was my big mistake with the Sprint last time, was I just rendered the final product, and for me to go get the stems out of a lot of those timer beats, I'd have to have all the synths set up in the same way with the same patches and shit. And it's just like, I just didn't make stems in the moment, you know? So I was just focused on just like getting it done and moving on. I was like, oh, I'll come back to it. But it's like, hey, life changes. Not going to be living in the big LA dojo forever. But yeah, so I'm really excited for that musical journey. I'm also going to be getting like directly A&R'd by Daddy Kev, which is pretty exciting. He's got a great ear, and he's definitely pushed a lot of musicians to go past what they were doing. So I'm excited for that. And then for the dojo, we've been doing a lot more collabs with artists outside the dojo. Like, for example, the Ionize project, you know, it's still like a dojo project, but yeah, it's on Wicked Mink Records. And it's just like, it's great to be getting, you know, this crossover between these like, you know, big established artists like 42 Dugg. And I mean, even Ionize is pretty established now, man. Like he's doing great. And Ionize, it's just great. I think it's just like it's a better look for the dojo to not be so insular, you know, like I really want to get a lot more crossover between dojo artists and the outside world. And then I'm also, you know, I want us to learn to produce as in teams, you know. So the next project, we're currently doing another internal remix contest for Herbalistic from Tokyo, who are fucking insane. So that's on the horizon too. But then the next record that we're doing is going to be like kind of like trip hop vocal record. We've got an amazing vocalist named Dream Tonic, and she's an incredible songwriter. And I really want to, you know, I want to have our remix contest that we do. Basically the winners of that remix contest, like we'll release a remix EP where it's one of her singles and then a bunch of remixes, and then her and the winning remixers are going to be a production team where I'm executive producing, and then they're working on the Dream Tonic record and just trying to make it as amazing as possible. Because like 100% of a record that does okay is worth way less than like 25% of a record that does awesome, you know?
Amen to that.
I think that
that's the motto.
Like everybody's going to get their fair share. You know, it's probably just going to be even Stevens on the splits. But I want to take all of our best producers and be breaking into teams and really working on like making the absolute best fucking music that we can. Because like at first when the dojo started, it was about like, you know, getting an outlet for people's first releases and stuff, and just like being, you know, providing that launch pad for people. But you know, after we've provided like, you know, launch pads for a lot of people, like, you know, Super Future and like Unk, we're both doing fucking great. You know, Timmy Mindset is doing great. Like we got a lot of our artists that are on pretty big booking agencies now and are like, you know, out there crushing it. Like Rip Kenny and Sixth Street fucking launching fucking crazy tunes, doing really well. So now that we've kind of like functioned as that, you know, as that gateway drug to the music industry, I want to really focus on like making the actual best fucking music that we can, so that, you know, so that we can, you know, be doing really like exciting fucking records where we're all really pushing ourselves and pushing the style and really kind of like, you know, becoming a real force to be reckoned with for in the music industry at large, and not just like a starter label. But I definitely wanted to provide that outlet at the beginning, and you know that outlet is always going to be there for the people who are, you know, really, really like you just like unquestionably talented in the dojo, like the people who can rise to the top in that competitive environment. For sure, their first tracks that can definitely come out on the label, but I really want to be working on, you know, actually taking a chunk of the music industry, you know, and like building our place that is, you know, not just as like, hey, look what we can do, but more like, you know, like we're a force, we're here, you know. So I'm excited to be doing these like team productions and stuff on the dojo label. And then for the dojo itself, man, we've been doing everything ourselves for so long. And like, I've been just like, you know, like all the people that are in the dojo and they know what's behind the fucking magic curtain are so stoked. But the world at large, like the dojo is still a pretty small operation, you know? And we're still kind of getting like Ableton respect us as an official educational institution, which is pretty cool. The class of 808 is like acknowledged by Ableton as an official educational institution, which is great considering how like we follow none of the rules of normal educational institutions. But you know, I really want to, for like the dojo itself, I want to be really working on this like linear course curriculum that I have currently like a beta group that I've been working on, where it's got like, you know, videos that you can watch and get homework assignments that you can do, like a lot of different journal exercises, writing exercises, ruthless examination of your life, like making all kinds of priority lists, asking tough philosophical questions. Like it's all this kind of like homework and like lifestyle design stuff that, you know, it's like, because the dojo is in such a non-linear format, because I just hate being told what to do. So it's like, yeah, here's all the knowledge. Just learn what you want. Right. That's cool. But there are a lot of people who, they're not at a point in their life that they know what they need, really, you know? And I have found over the years that what I thought I needed at the time and what I actually needed are usually two very fucking different things. So, you know, there's this linear path now, which is pretty exciting. Basically the two things that we're working on, we have recently started working with one of our dojo members has a multi-million-dollar marketing company called Infinite Sales Group, and they do all of the Facebook marketing for like Verizon and AT&T and shit. And so because they have these monster clients, they have access to this like insane, like enterprise level data analytics software that costs like thousands and thousands of dollars a month. We normally never have access to. But because Josh Slater, our man, is a dojo member, he like waived the setup fees, which normally would be like 16 grand to set up the ad campaigns there. He waived the setup fees and was like, hey, let's just like do a project together and see how it goes, which was like just shockingly generous. Like I was so stoked, and they're fucking crushing, you know? So now instead of having ads run by like us with like one other person who like kind of gets results most of the time, but also loses money some of the time, we have people who know exactly what they're motherfucking doing. And our ads are like we did a bunch of research and set up with them, and the ads are like, the numbers that they've been very small tests, like a couple $100 worth of advertising, but the numbers that they've gotten back are great, and they started scaling them this week, which is exciting. So hopefully we can get to the point where we have an ad that will stand being scaled without Mark Zuckerberg going, oh no, suddenly that costs 4 times as much. Fuck you. You know, so hopefully we can not have that happen, because you need really skilled data, you know, ad managers, or else Darth Zuckerberg comes and pees on your birthday cake. So, yeah, so that's exciting. We finally have ads that are working. And then, once we have the ads, like, you know, I really want to, focus more on getting people in the weekly download and buying this linear course, because right now, like, to be totally frank, the like, you know, we keep the margins really low at the dojo. We try and just like keep paying all of our awesome senseis and all of our crew, and like not outsourcing jobs to India or whatever where it's way cheaper, and we just try and make it cool. Like if there's cool shit we want to do, we just do that shit. We don't really think about how much it costs. So because that's been the attitude like the whole time, you know, it's not like no one's like rolling in money from the dojo, right? But we have the content that definitely, like, the value in the weekly download alone is like fucking crazy now. Like that's total, like for $5 a week you get like if you add up $5 a week times 222 weekly downloads, that's $1,110 worth of weekly downloads that you get right away for fucking $20. Like as soon as you try, you get that amount of shit. Like that's fucking crazy. You can download all those things, watch all the videos. So I think if we, you know, because we've been doing these spin-off courses, like the drum sound design course and the Wise Beyond Your Ears philosophy course, and we're launching a bass sound design course soon. But these spin-off courses that are from the weekly download, it's like a selection of edited weekly downloads, and those are fucking doing great. Like people will happily pay $20 for just one fucking course for the weekly download. So we realized that, you know, communicating the value of the weekly download to people is really hard, because there are 222 different weekly downloads, and like that sales forum, it's like, here's what you get. You know, it's like, it's hard to communicate the value of that. But when people pay $20 for one thing from the weekly download and then have their mind blown by that one fucking thing, then usually they'll buy a couple more of these things. And then when they realize that there's 222 and they can get them for $5 each and not $20, and they can get them by just subscribing for fucking $20 a month, then it's, you know, that's a better flow. So we're focusing on that. And with our marketing rather than like memberships. Like we're just like, because the memberships, they don't really turn a huge profit, and it's like, it's a lot managing these people. Like managing the mixtapes is a fucking ton of work. Managing the record label is a ton of work. We're not seeing returns on those things, you know, but I want to keep doing them and I want to have the money to be able to keep doing them. And I mean, frankly, I want to have the money to fucking get a dojo fucking bus and like do a tour where we have like local dojo openers in every city and we do fucking workshops during the week on like Sunday to fucking Tuesday. So we don't have to play like terrible venues with stripper poles on the stage or whatever. You know, that's normally what happens. Cause like when you do a bus tour, you gotta keep that shit on the road. It's like 10 grand a day to keep a bus on the road. So you can't just have Sunday to Tuesday off. You'll lose $30,000. So you end up playing shitty little towns on shitty nights that nobody goes out. And when you put those two factors together, you get the worst fucking gigs. Like I remember on the Excision tour, we were, it was like 2014 and it was some fuck ass town in like Kentucky or something. There's just nobody fucking there. And it was like a Monday night or whatever. And I remember Excision goes in the venue and he looks around and he comes back and he's like, there's a stripper pole in the middle of the stage. Can't set up the executioner. I don't want to play here anyway. Fuck this shit. And we just like, it was it. Like he wouldn't even do it. He was like, I would rather lose $10,000 than play this gig, you know?
Wow.
So that's how it is, like when you do a driving tour. But because the dojo is an educational organization, we can do sick fucking group workshops and shit Sunday to Tuesday and still be, you know, keeping the bus on the road. So I think it's feasible because that's how I used to do my DJ tours. Was I would go out and then, you know, I'd go out for like a month at a time, sometimes more, and I would do workshops and shit like in between the gigs because I knew I could make money doing it. I knew I was good at it. So I would do workshops and shit in between the gigs, and that just made the whole thing feasible. And then you don't have these like days where you're just in a hotel wasting money, you know? So I think a dojo tour bus could be sick. And I want to have the money to just not care about shit like that. And then I think I'm going to try and get a grant from the Canadian government to rebuild the dojo in Vancouver. And I'll be like, look, I could go back to LA and build it there, or you could give me a grant and I could build it here, you know? Because man, like my boy Def 3 is a rapper. He just got like 50 grand to make rap videos and shit. I'm like, there's all kinds of swearing in his songs and stuff. It's like not like.
That's amazing.
Yeah. The Canadian government has all this fucking arts funding. It's so sick. And then all the healthcare is free. My doctor's 10 minutes away. I go to the doctor like every 2 weeks. It's so sick. That's so sick. It's great. And wait like fucking an hour at most. And I'm like right in there, no appointment, just fucking walk in. Fucking.
Welcome back.
Yeah, it's good, man. I'm gonna get an extra dick put in. It's gonna be awesome. Yeah, totally. That's it's covered. It's covered.
See, if people heard that part of the Canadian system, Americans wouldn't be as scared of it anymore.
Yeah. Oh, we're just all dicks all day. It's like Cthulhu down there. Every Canadian. It's how you keep them warm. They form into like a knot, and then.
It's like a rat king.
Yeah, like a rat king. It's good. It's like winter ready genitalia. That's good.
Well, I couldn't think of a better way to wrap up.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
And on that note.
Yeah, so keep your snake pits tight. All right, I will see you in the dojo. Lots of love.
Hey,
all right, everybody. Peace
out. Thank you so much for all the gems. Thank you, chat.
Yeah, good times. Good times. Yeah, lots of love to the chat. Peace out.
Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. And have a good night.
Peace out. Seriously. And of course, peace among worlds, everybody.
Peace among worlds. Peace, man.
All right, humans, thank you so much for being here with us. We highly appreciate you. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, leave a review and a rating for us to help us reach more cool producers like you. Thank you. Now, I just want to mention our sponsors again. They're awesome products and they're all things that we love and use ourselves. First off, Dojo TV. It's where this episode was recorded. And every other Tuesday, you can catch us live, hop in the chat, and join in the fun. Next, the weekly download, where we have learned some of the most vital producer skills directly from illgates. And not only do you get a class every week, but you also get immediate access to over 220 episodes in the archive. Next, guest practices, where you can learn from Seth Drake himself. He's an engineer that has worked with industry leading artists in many genres, and your first class for guest practices at the Approach Institute is free. Finally, Gangaroo Records music distribution. Distribute your tunes to all the goons for under $10 a year. Those links are down below. Tune in next week when we have the one and only Detox, fresh off his chart-topping album on the Producer Dojo label. All right, humans, peace out and peace among worlds. I like it.